The conference room door slammed shut behind the last board member, but Elena Vargas's voice still echoed off the glass walls. Sarah, you just cost this company everything. How could you be so incompetent when I put my entire trust in you? Sarah Klein stood frozen, her hands trembling as the words sliced through her like a knife. Elena, I loved you enough to take the blame for you. And in that moment, neither woman realized that Sarah's older sister, Captain Rebecca Klein of the United States Navy, was about to turn their world upside down. The silence that followed was worse than the shouting. 23 investors, 3 VCs, and Elena's entire C-suite stared at the petite brunette in the charcoal skirt suit, who had just been publicly eviscerated. Sarah's cheeks burned crimson, but she didn't cry, not yet. She simply gathered the scattered quarterly reports, stacked them with the precision of someone who had spent 5 years anticipating Elena's every need, and walked out without another word. Elena watched her go, chest tight, already regretting the volume if not the content. The numbers were bad, catastrophic really, but the leak had been her own rushed approval of an unvetted vendor. Blaming Sarah had been the easiest way to keep the board from turning on her. She told herself it was leadership. She told herself it was necessary. She was wrong on both counts. Sarah made it to the elevator before the tears came. By the time she reached the street, San Francisco's October wind felt like judgment. She pulled out her phone and dialed the one person who had always known how to make the world stop spinning. Becca, she whispered when her sister picked up on the second ring. I just got fired in front of 30 people. By the woman I've been in love with for 5 years. Captain Rebecca Klein, currently on 2 weeks leave in Norfolk, Virginia, set down her coffee. Give me the address. I'm on the next flight. Back in the penthouse office, Elena stared at the empty chair across from her desk, the one Sarah had occupied every morning for half a decade. The one where she'd brought coffee exactly the way Elena liked it, remembered every anniversary of every deal, and once stayed until 4 a.m. rewriting a pitch deck because Elena had been too exhausted to think straight. The chair that had somehow become the only steady thing in Elena's chaotic life. She opened the company Slack. Sarah's status had already changed to offline, permanently. Elena typed deleted, typed again. Nothing felt right. Eventually she just closed the laptop and poured herself a whiskey she didn't want. That night Sarah sat on the fire escape of her tiny Mission District apartment, phone pressed to her ear, listening to Rebecca's calm, measured voice. They're bidding on the Navy's new AI maritime threat platform, Rebecca said. Vargas Tech. $3.2 billion if they win. I sit on the evaluation committee's advisory board. Sarah laughed bitterly. Please don't blow up her company for me. I'm not blowing anything up, Rebecca replied. I'm simply going to make sure the right people know the truth about the leadership culture. That's all. Sarah closed her eyes. Becca, I don't want revenge. I wanted her to see me. Really see me. She will, Rebecca said softly. One way or another. Rebecca arrived in San Francisco 3 days later wearing civilian clothes that somehow still looked like a uniform. Crisp white button-down, dark jeans, hair pulled into a severe bun. She hugged Sarah so tightly the younger woman finally let herself sob. They spent the weekend in Sarah's apartment eating takeout and talking about everything except Elena. Until Sunday night, when Rebecca opened her laptop and began making quiet phone calls. On Monday morning Elena walked into a board meeting that felt like walking into a freezer. The Navy contract, her legacy project, was on hold pending additional due diligence on corporate governance. The phrase came directly from a flagged email chain that somehow referenced an internal culture of public scapegoating. Elena knew exactly whose name had been redacted. She spent the next week trying to fix it, calls, lunches, favors. Nothing worked. The board was spooked. Stock dipped. Investors whispered. On Thursday she finally broke and drove to Sarah's apartment. She sat in her Tesla for 20 minutes before walking up and knocking. Sarah opened the door in an old Stanford sweatshirt, eyes red-rimmed. What do you want, Elena? To apologize. Properly. In private. Sarah stepped aside. The apartment smelled like lavender and the Thai food they'd ordered the night before the humiliation. Elena's gaze caught on a framed photo on the bookshelf. Sarah and a woman in navy dress blues, arms around each other, both laughing. Your sister. Elena asked. Captain Rebecca Klein, Sarah said quietly. She's here actually. In the city. Elena felt something cold slide down her spine. Sarah continued, voice steady. She's the reason your contract is frozen. She didn't do it for revenge, Elena. She did it because she loves me, and she's tired of watching me break myself for people who don't deserve it. Elena sat down hard on the couch. I didn't know. You never asked. The silence stretched until Elena whispered. I miss you. God, Sarah. I miss you so much it hurts to breathe. Sarah's eyes filled. Missing me isn't the same as seeing me. Rebecca met Elena 2 days later at a small cafe near the Embarcadero. She arrived in uniform, khakis, ribbons, the works, and Elena suddenly understood why generals saluted her sister without being asked. You humiliated my baby sister in front of her entire professional world, Rebecca said without preamble. She covered for you for 5 years. She loved you for 5 years. And you threw her away the moment it was convenient. Elena didn't flinch. I was wrong. I'm trying to make it right. Rebecca studied her for a long moment. Do you know why Sarah never told you she was in love with you? Elena shook her head. Because she thought you'd fire her. Because she thought you'd laugh. Because every time she watched you date men who treated you like trophies, she told herself her feelings were irrelevant. Rebecca leaned forward. She was wrong about one thing. You're not incapable of love. You're just terrified of it. Elena's throat closed. I'm trying to change. Good, Rebecca said. Because the Navy contract is still salvageable. If you publicly apologize to Sarah, reinstate her with the title and salary she always deserved, and never ever treat her like collateral damage again. Elena nodded once. Done. Rebecca stood. One more thing. If you break her heart, I will bury your company so deep the Navy will forget it ever existed. And I'll enjoy it. The apology happened on a crisp November morning in the same boardroom where everything had shattered. Elena stood at the head of the table, Sarah beside her. Not as assistant, but as newly appointed chief of staff. The same investors watched. I made a mistake, Elena said, voice clear. A grave one. I publicly blamed Sarah Klein for a failure that was mine. She has been the best thing that ever happened to this company, and to me personally. I am deeply sincerely sorry, and I am correcting it today. She turned to Sarah. In front of everyone she took her hand. I see you now, she said softly, only for Sarah. I've seen you for a long time. I was just too scared to admit it. Sarah's eyes shone. She squeezed Elena's hand once, then addressed the room with the quiet authority she'd always possessed. Thank you. Let's get back to work. That afternoon in Elena's office with the door closed, Sarah finally let the tears fall. Happy ones this time. I'm still angry, she whispered. I know, Elena said. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you'll let me. Sarah stepped closer. Start with this. She kissed Elena, soft, trembling. 5 years of longing poured into one moment. Elena kissed her back like a woman who had finally come home. 6 months later the Navy contract was signed. Vargas Tech thrived. Sarah and Elena moved into a light-filled house in No Valley with a view of the bay. Rebecca visited often, bringing terrible Navy jokes and excellent bourbon. One evening the three of them sat on the deck watching the sun set. Rebecca raised her glass. To public humiliation, she said dryly. Elena laughed. And the sisters who refused to let us stay small. Sarah leaned her head on Elena's shoulder. And to finally being seen. Later, when Rebecca had gone to bed, Elena pulled Sarah close on the couch. I was so afraid of what loving you would cost me, she murmured. Turns out the only thing it cost was my pride. Best trade I ever made. Sarah smiled against her lips. Took you long enough. They kissed slow, certain, the kind of kiss that says the rest of their lives had already begun. Outside, the city lights shimmered on the water like scattered stars. And somewhere in the distance a Navy ship sounded its horn. Steady, strong, protective. Just like family. Just like love.